Hello, my name is Ritchie Knox, and you are tuned into Virtuous Teacher. And in this episode, we'll be talking about every teacher's most hated question. Can I go to the bathroom? All right, maybe that's not the most hated question out there, but we will be talking about strategies on how to deal with that dreaded question. All right, before we do, please check out the descriptions area for ways to support and connect with me and my initiatives. I certainly do appreciate it. And of course, get you one of those Virtuous Teacher t-shirts by going to bhshirts.com or merch at virtuousteacher.com. Yeah. All right. Now, why is this a dreaded question amongst the teacher community? Why? Because once one student goes, then next thing you know, another student wants to go, and another. It becomes a bathroom train. That is my most hated thing when it comes to allowing a student to go to the bathroom. The second thing that I think makes it such a difficult concept, the idea of a student leaving the classroom to go to the bathroom, is because you know that they're unsupervised. And anytime a student is unsupervised, you know that anything can happen. And let's just get it out the way. Maybe you have never experienced it, but I have. You know, a student's actions can impact your employment, quite frankly, right? You send them to the bathroom, they walk out the building, or they're on the other side of the building. That reflects on your teaching. So that is definitely something that you have to keep in mind. Yeah, so those are just a few of the primary reasons why I feel like this is a dreaded question, because you have to make a judgment call. Do I send this student out? Do I take the risk? And what if they're lying? What if they're just trying to get out of the classroom? It is such a difficult, circumstance that I thought it was worth an episode. So let's get into it. I'm going to separate this episode into do's and don'ts. All right, let's talk about the do's first. You want to establish the expectation that students should go to the bathroom during transition. This will resolve half your problems. So I'm not sure what your school does in terms of transition, whether they give students 5 minutes, 7 minutes, or 10 minutes. Whatever the case, you want to establish a culture within your classroom that the expectation is you're going to go to the bathroom during transition before the class starts. And there's so many benefits to that mindset or expectation. The first one is you keep students in class. That's one of my biggest goals, and the things that I should say objectives is to keep students in the classroom, because when students are in the classroom, you're safe, they're learning, they're engaged, no trouble to be had as far as outside of the classroom. So that is the biggest reason why I think that strategy works. And also it teaches them to manage their time. Like let's be honest, a lot of times during transition, that's when all the students can kind of congregate and they see their friends, because perhaps their friends don't have the same classes as them. So, that little 5 minute, 7 minute window, that's them trying to catch up on the latest news of the day. And you set the expectation, hey, you need to go to the bathroom during that time. And when they come to class, let's say 10 minutes pass, 15 minutes pass, they raise their hand, I have to go to the bathroom. You can lean on that expectation, especially if you told them prior, hey, I told you, you have to go to the bathroom during transition. And that will, again, resolve half of your request, because they know they should have went. And perhaps the next time they'll spend less time talking to their friends and more times prioritizing themselves so that they're comfortable during class. All right, but that doesn't always solve all the problems, because, like I said, there's different procedures and things like that. Like, for example, a school might say you can't go to the bathroom during transition. You need to go straight to class. I really think that's a mistake. I really think schools should allow or expect students to go to the bathroom during that 5 to 7 minute window. And I actually think 7 minutes of transition is perfect, because it absolutely squashes all excuses as to why you didn't go to the bathroom. And it allows you to lock the hallways down during class time. Like, we gave you 7 minutes, like no conversation lasts that long. So obviously going to the bathroom was not a priority. But when it's 5 minutes, they have a little bit of an excuse. Well, I had to get to class and my classroom's on the other side. Well, I can understand that. That's a 3 to 4 minute walk, which really limits the amount of time that you have to go to the restroom. But when it's like 7 minutes, even 10, I'll even say 10 minutes. That's a little extreme, but still, the more time, you give a student to transition, the more time they can get themselves prepared for class, right? So that's just how that goes. But perhaps that might not solve all problems. Next, if you're in a classroom space and a student asks us to go to the restroom, here's what I would recommend. Ask them if it is an emergency. This is how it would go. A student will raise their hand, say I have to go to the bathroom. And I always do this. I always pull them to me so that we can have a personal conversation, right? I don't want to ask them, hey, is it an emergency in front of everybody? So I always bring them to me. And also, I don't want other students hearing what I'm asking or the conversation in general, because if they just raise their hand and say, hey, I got to go to the bathroom, it's an emergency, and I say, oh, go ahead, then the next person is going to realize, well, that's how you get out the classroom. So I always, hear their question, which is, can I go to the bathroom? And I'll pull them to me and we'll have a conversation. The conversation typically goes, what was your question again? I always ask that to, reset the whole dialogue so that they know that this is a brand new conversation. What was your question? I asked, can I go to the bathroom? And I always follow up with, is it an emergency? And when you ask that question, you have to look at their face, because I've learned, and I cannot believe this is true, students have a really hard time lying about this. So a lot of times, you'll be surprised how often this happens. A lot of times they'll say, no, it's not an emergency, right? And then you can say, all right, well, thank you for being honest, but I'm going to ask you to hold off for just a moment. We're about to leave class soon. All right, it's not an emergency. They've already confirmed that. And if you feel bad doing that, you can say, all right, well, right now I'm going to ask you to find a seat, but if it becomes an emergency, please let me know. All right. And that is a nice, very respectable agreement between you and the student. And that student goes right back and sit down. They know, or they said or stated it's not an emergency. Therefore, there's no reason for them to leave the class in an instance. Right. Sometimes they'll say, yes, it is an emergency. And this lends into my next point. Know their MO. Know who they are. When you're not teaching them and you see them passing from other classes, are they moving with intention, or are they kind of loitering around and just doing random things? Because if you know their MO, even if they say it is a emergency, you can lean on that understanding and experience and say, you know what, I'm not sure that it is, and you can make a judgment call. Often I will tell a student, no, you cannot go to the restroom. And I will then watch and see what they do afterwards. Now, if they sit down, they're looking uncomfortable, then I'll kind of jump back in and say, all right, hey, come on back up. Let's talk real quick. Let's talk personally. Do you still have to go to the restroom? You can go. Sometimes they'll have a seat and just get to playing again. You're like, okay, all right, I dodged a issue on that one. So you just have to know their MO. You have to be paying particular attention to their movements and what they're doing. And sometimes you'll tell a student, no, they can't go to the restroom. Foregoing the whole emergency question, just flat out no. You just know who they are. They tend to skip class, stuff like that. You just say no. And then, maybe 2 minutes later, they'll come back up. And that is your immediate sign that they actually have to go to the bathroom. If they come back a second time after you tell them no. I would argue that anytime a student comes to you a second time to go to the restroom, you let them go and you just take your chance. All right. Now, here's the thing. If you let them go, give them a 3-minute time limit with the full expectation that it will take at least 5 minutes. Every time a student leaves my classroom, they hear this message: you have 3 minutes to get back. All right. And I want to point out that even though you're telling them they have 3 minutes, in your mind, you should give them about 5 minutes, because you just don't know the dynamics of what's going to happen. Maybe they're going to go to the bathroom. It's going to take a little longer, or perhaps they have to do a number 2 and you don't want to expose that in front of the entire class. It could be a line in the bathroom. The bathroom could be far away. For example, our male's bathroom is further away than our female's bathroom. So you keeping all that in mind, and you tell them 3 minutes, but with the expectation that it will be probably more like 5. However, if they ever go over 7 minutes, you have cause for concern. And every single time a student is outside of my classroom for more than 7 minutes, I'm on the phone with the parent. Not necessarily to get them in trouble, but I always say this. I say, excuse me, sir, ma'am. I let so-and-so go to the restroom, and the bathroom is right across the hall, and they've been gone for 7 minutes. I was wondering if you can give them a call and check on them. And if they're okay, can you please have them return back to the classroom? What happens when you do that is that all the other students who maybe have bad intentions as far as leaving the classroom, they realize, well, he's going to call my parents if I don't come back within a certain time frame. And that sets the standard right there. Once students see you do that one time, you'll probably not have any issues as far as students trying to get out of the classroom for frivolous reasons. And then also it communicates to that student who left out the classroom, it communicates to them that you're actually, standing behind what you said. You're standing on your expectation. I said 3 minutes. I actually meant 3 minutes. Now they don't usually have a good sense of time. So they'll come back and say, it was 3 minutes. So you kind of want to keep an eye on that. I mean, I'm not saying set a stopwatch, but you kind of know what 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 7 minutes feels like. And if they start to, linger around that 7 minute mark, it's about that time that you get involved, because again, your job is on the line. If something happens to that child and you gave them permission to go out, then, that could be an issue. Now, I want to talk about some things you don't do. All right. Those are some do's. I think that if you incorporate those concepts and strategies, you will see a immediate change in the whole bathroom process. All right. I usually get maybe 1 to 2 requests per class on average. And as far as how many people I let out, it's more like 0.8. All right. I don't really let people out of my classroom. It's just one of my things. When you come to class, you're locking in. I feel like everyone's potty trained. And aside from you really giving me signs that you have to go, I'm going to keep you in class. And I've never had an incident where a student peed on the floor or anything like that. So I think it's important that I state that. I usually make good judgment calls when it comes to that. But here are some things that you don't do. Never let a child leave the room in the first or last 10 minutes of class. The first 10 minutes, I always call it the terrible 10. This is when the bell is ringing. Kids are coming in tardy. Kids are all over the place. They're transitioning. They have the energy from the last class. They're now trying to put it into your class. You have to correct all those things. You're moving seats. So the first 10 minutes are sacred. You really have to establish the tone for your classroom in that first 10 minutes. And, you definitely don't want students leaving the classroom and coming back. So that has to be a hard rule that no one will leave the classroom in the first 10 minutes. And that also goes for the last 10 minutes. Never let a student leave your class in the last 10 minutes. That's when you're starting to clean up. That's when you're preparing for transition, passing back work, or doing exit tickets. I'm not sure what you do, but in that last 10 minutes, you're not letting anyone out that class. All right. That is the expectation that is set for my class. All right. And I think the sooner that you set certain expectations, like you only have 3 minutes, like you have to go to the bathroom during transition, like you cannot go to the restroom in the first or last 10 minutes. The earlier you set that expectation and then follow it up with consistency, the least likely students will get upset once they come across these boundaries. All right. My last don't is never let a habitually tardy student go to the bathroom. If you know a student's MO, because that's what it goes back to, they're habitually tardy. They always come in late. You never let them go to the restroom. I mean, of course, use your own judgment. But for me, it is a hard no. You're not going to come to class 10 minutes late and then say you want to go to the bathroom so that you can leave back out the class. I'm just not going to do that. And yes, there are times when a student may walk out. No problem. I can't control that because I have so much credibility. I have so much I can argue on my own behalf. I can say this student is always late. I can say this student, though late, could have went to the restroom then. Why wasn't it an emergency when they were walking into the classroom late? If it was such an emergency and you came in 10 minutes late, why not go to the bathroom first? This student is playing games, and I have that as leverage. You're not going to come in 15 minutes late and then leave after 10 minutes of class, because it's my opinion that you just don't like class and you don't like learning, and maybe we're doing some work that you quite don't understand and you need an excuse to walk the hall. I'm not doing it. So if you come in late, automatically, and I've kind of set that tone, I'm working on it more and more. And I don't really have an opportunity to work on it because a lot of times I don't get asked to go to the restroom. But I'm trying to work and establish a system where if you come to class tardy by more than 5 minutes, or just tardy at all, I'm not letting you go to the bathroom. I'm not doing it. Okay. That is just one of my things. I don't want a student who's habitually tardy roaming the halls on my behalf. I'm not doing it. All right. So those are some do's and some don'ts as it relates to going to the restroom. That dreaded question you get. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's one of my least favorite questions from a student. But with that being said, I hope that this information helped you out. If so, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, review, all that cool stuff. Leave a comment. What type of question? Well, first off, what is your most hated question when it comes to your job, your occupation as a teacher? What is your most hated question? I'm gonna think about that myself. I think "can I go to the bathroom" might still be at the top. I really hate that question, only because it puts my how do you say this? It puts me in a place of uneasiness because I know that student is going in the hallway. I can't see them. I can't watch them. I hate that question. All right, but what is your most hated question as it relates to your occupation? All right, I think my second least favorite or most hated question is, can you cover somebody's class? But anyway, that is another topic. Nevertheless, thank you all for tuning in to the Virtuous Teacher. I'll see you soon. Thank you.